Let's speak to Peter Bleksley, former Scotland Yard detective. Just on really the protocol around this, Peter, the police have said that this is not a terrorist incident, but of course, like any incident such as this, they don't know that when it first happens. Afternoon to you, Pete.
Absolutely. The most important question that the police will be trying to establish now is why did this event happen? That is what their resources will be focused on. And it will be dealt with like any kind of major inquiry. There will be a senior investigating officer applied to the case, and they will, of course, bring on experts in traffic collision who can calculate speeds, direction of travel, and all those kind of matters, because clearly this vehicle has left the carriageway. Was that by accident, or was the vehicle weaponised, for example? They'll be the questions that the police will be wanting to find the answers to.
And of course, you know, in those initial stages, it wouldn't have been long ago that nobody would have really thought about a terror incident, but we live in strange and curious times where there is precedent for this kind of thing, that naturally people will jump to that. The police are very quick, and certainly in this case were incredibly quick to rule that out.
Yes, and that would be because they want to reassure the public that there won't be other similar offences carried out either in the close vicinity or perhaps a bit further afield, as tragically we have seen happen in the past with terrorism, both at home and throughout Europe. It's become increasingly more common that terrorists have weaponised vehicles, but in this instance the police have been very swift to rule any form of terrorism out of this inquiry.
Any sort of car incident, any crash, any accident is obviously serious and concerning. This is particularly poignant. It's a school. We know there are potentially 9, maybe more children injured in this. There are reports that somebody might have died. We do await confirmation on that. This would require a very robust and urgent response from the services.
Oh, yes, of course. The 999 services will all have attended. Paramedics predominantly, together with the police in the very early stages, with the preservation of life at the very forefront of their minds, and the investigation to follow, which is now in all likelihood in absolute full swing. It is rather unusual. I've seen the images, how this collision has occurred, but I'm sure that a lot of resources will be deployed to this, as with any major investigation, and I'm sure the answers will be forthcoming in the not too distant future.
And naturally, by definition of an emergency response, this would have involved, Peter, not just the police, clearly the ambulance service for obvious reasons. The fire service would have been there. This would have been all hands on deck in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely, because, of course, the area has to be made safe before there can be any form of investigation. I would imagine that the first responders on scene, their minds must have been going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, thinking, what has happened here? What have we got here in front of us? And it's the courage of 999 responders that rush into the unknown which sets them apart. It's why they do jobs that so many of us wouldn't want to do these days. And I commend them for that. But and also the Met have been very prompt to rule out terrorism because they want to reassure local residents and people further afield. And I would just concur with what the messages that have already come out for people to avoid areas like Wimbledon Common at the moment while this investigation takes place. The police and other services really don't want people turning up to have a look. That is very, very unhelpful. Let the investigators, let the 999 services get on with their job, and I'm sure as soon as they possibly can, they will keep you, the media, and us, the public, informed.
Yeah, and I think people do want to be informed with something like this, particularly when there are kids clearly involved. Peter, thank you for the moment. Peter Bleksley, former Scotland Yard detective, with us here.